Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Arjunam Vita Bhujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanare Kapitaro Kamalaya Takshu Vishwambaro Vijavaro Yugodharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karnavotaro Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahoto Purnai Pushpavanto Chato Sambhutam Vandeham Sri Ramakrishna Abhaya Charana Suro Sukaro Paramanando Sundaro Subharapriyo He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhanta Namaste Taptapancham Hurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shubhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Shri Guru Krishna Guru Parampara Ki Jai Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai
Jai.
Ram Navami Ki Jai
Jai.
Shri Ram Lila Ki Jai
Jai.
Shri Shri Gaur Radha Madhava Ki
Jai.
Jai Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki
Jai.
Jai Gaur Premanand
Haribo.
So, we gather on the auspicious evening of the Ram Navami, celebrating the appearance of Ram Avatar. And while Ram Lila is not the focus, per se, of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, unless Ram is a prominent avatar of our Swami Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. And devotees like to hear the stories of their Lord in his different appearances, what it is, and how his associates go with him, and so forth. So certainly, there's an overflow of Ram Lila into Gaudiya Vaishnavism. An entire chapter or so or more is dedicated to Ram in Srimad Bhagavatam. One of the subjects of Srimad Bhagavatam is the avatar tattva. So there is discussion of various avatars. Raha and Shrina is given very considerable treatment over 10 chapters in 7th canto. And Ram is given considerable treatment. I'm not sure how many chapters, but I believe the 9th canto. Basically, the story of Ram Lila is recounted, a story that is thought to have originally been told by the sage Valmiki. And after that time, a number, I should say, of poets and sages have written from their own vision the story of Ram, following the basic structure of Valmiki's Ramayana, with nuances of their own sentiments and experiences and so forth. So very famous amongst the avatars. There's a story that, like Srimad Bhagavatam, owing to its central piece being the story of Krishna, the human-like Krishna, Ramayana has been widely circulated in India and abroad, and other subsequent poems, and I mean lengthy poems and epics and whatnot about Ram Lila following, as I say, the basic storyline of Valmiki's Ramayana, widely circulated. So these are the two most popular descents of Bhagavan in Hinduism: Ram and Krishna. This Ram, Raghupati Ram, Ramchandra Ram, Dasarati Ram. So there are being there are a number of Rams. Those epithets all pertain to the Ram whom we're discussing now, Lord of Sita. There's also the Parshuram, there's Balaram, there's Radharaman, Krishna himself. And so this is the Ram of Dasarath, Ram, Sita, Lakshman, Hanuman. And again, it's a widely told story in different languages and widely circulated. He's so popular, for example, in India, that his kingdom of Ayodhya, which ultimately he did come to preside over after a long intrigue of romance and politics and morality and rasa also, of course. And he has been named the political ideal of the Hindus, I should say, is often voiced as Ram, Raja. Let us have the rule of Ram, politically speaking, in the world. So, an ideal king. Who was popular amongst Krishna's friends, among other things, to play the roles of kings and demons and so forth, and play out the story of Ram also. And so Nityananda Prabhu was quite fond of the Ram Lila and played it out so well that it was apparent that it was being replayed. He'd taken the role of Lakshman appropriately so. And that's a beautiful story within the Ramayana, the relationship between Ram and Lakshman. But I want to say something about that. But the human-like Leelas are, again, so popular because they're like us in many respects. Krishna Leela very different from Ram Leela. Ram Leela is called Maryada, so the Leela of proper etiquette, and Krishna's thought to be very rule breaker, if you will. The rules are made to be broken, they say. And so Ram made the rules, and Krishna broke them. And all in the context of Leela, as we were talking the other night. You have to understand the concept of Leela to appreciate fully the moral stories and the various dealings of Ram and Krishna within the Leela. If they're to do a human-like Leela, then they have to be human-like and frail, and as humans are, and subject to sometimes acts that might be unbecoming otherwise. This in the context of Leela and rasa, love between themselves, Rama, Krishna, and their devotees. So human-like Leelas. In this particular Leela, Ram Leela, of course, it's thought to appear in Treta Yuga, and Krishna Leela at the end of the Dwapara Yuga. Prior to that, there's the appearance, as it's thought of chronologically or historically, even though these are stories that transcend history and chronology, even if they're eternally manifest every moment of them and so forth. But at any rate, somewhat of a chronological order or historical order, before Ram came in Nrsimha. And these three, Ram, Krishna, and Nrsimha, they have some connection that they're all said by Rupa Swami, his Lava Bhagavatamrita, to have all six opulences. Sadaishvari, which is Parshuram's definition of Bhagavan, not that the other avatars are not Bhagavan, and Narayan has them as well. But these three, as opposed to Kurma, Braha, Mina, and so on and so forth, and others, have all six opulences. And there are some ways in which the stories are told that there's a connection between them, between this appearance, followed by Ram, followed by Krishna. And in brief, with regard to the Ram Lila coming out of Nrsimha Lila, it's told that at the time when Nrsimha appeared from the pillar, broken by the sword of Hiranyakasipu, challenging the spiritual vision of Prahlad. If your God is everywhere as even the pillar, and indeed he was, of course, he not in a form that became the demise of Hiranyakasipu despite his efforts to avoid death by various measures. You know the story. Up a gilded day or night, and on the land and water and sea or the air, by a man or a human. So Nrsimha is the answer, in one sense, to all of those efforts to beat the system, so to speak. Appearing not on the land or the sea, not half man, half beast, and so on and so forth. But at the time of his appearance, he roared very loudly. And with his lion-like roar. And one Brahmani was pregnant at the time, and the roar caused her to lose consciousness of herself and gave birth to the child. It was otherwise untimely. And then she came back to consciousness, and she cursed whoever had done that. To take birth and lose consciousness of himself. So Vivid Bhagwan, and who's Gobrahmanehitayacha, who's kindly disposed towards the Brahmins, the cows, the earth, the Veda, Gobrahmanehitaya. So because the Brahmins are supposed to uphold the Dharma, religion, live by the scripture, objectively guide others with their teaching and their example and so forth, and because religion, Dharma, to Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam, it's coming from God. It's kind of the answer from God to as I say, the question that humanity constitutes. Why am I? What is my purpose? Left unto themselves, humans in the jungle will tend to think that there is meaning and purpose and more to life than what meets the eye. And that sensibility arising in human life is thought to be answered to by Bhagavan. And that makes, for religion, you can say that religion is human-made, and humans make something out of the revelation. What it means, what is its significance. And so there are different nuances of religion. Within the Eastern revelation of the Upanishads, there are a number of obviously theistic spiritual traditions that constitute different interpretations of the response, the answer to the question why, which is a big question. So the answer is hard to follow sometimes. But we see this again and again. Krishna's deference to the Sudama Brahman, despite his poverty and so forth and so on. How he respected him when he came to the palace of Dwarka. We can imagine the opulence of the palace of Dwarka, where the city of Dwarka, and to speak of his palace and his principal palace and his principal queen, Rukmini, a place that was blessed by all the gods and brought gifts from heavens and so on and so forth. and impoverished Sudama, who barely had enough, not even whole rice, but chipped rice, broken pieces of rice, to live by, coming there on the insistence of his wife to meet his friend, and in the hopes that their life could be better because they had a rich husband, her husband had a rich friend, but not that in his mind himself. It's a beautiful story about him, of course. Krishna blesses him, worships him, puts him on the seat, offers arati to him, and so on and so forth. In Chaitanya Lila, of course, we find the Brahman's curse. Taktivasudis Chadasureps Lakshman Dharmishta Arya Vachasa Dharmishta Arya Vachasa Adanyam, he went to the forest. It means he went after us. We are like living in the forest, in the dark forest. And on the basis, ostensibly, on the surface of a Brahman's curse. Because during his private Rasik nocturnal kirtan in the courtyard of Srivas, he was not letting just anybody in. On his inner circle, and one Brahmin wanted to enter in, he felt that he should be allowed because his lifestyle was such that he lived in this world only by consuming milk, which means he's quite considerate of others, and in order to sustain himself, he killed no one except the microbes and whatever maybe in the milk. But, and so, just to further illustrate the extent to which Krishna is disposed towards the religious, even though, in another sense, when we make the point, religion and even Gyan, Dharma and Gyan, Karma and Gyan are not very attractive to Krishna, still, in an overarching sense, as Bhagwan, God, he appreciates the religious position. Good part of the Vedas, the majority of them, 3/4 or 2/3, 3/4, I guess, deal with the modes of nature and movement within it and so on and so forth. And it comes from him and has its place. And we are told, Nam Dharma, not to offend the Vedas. Sometimes it's interpreted to mean not to criticize the karma sections, the Gyan sections, because they have their place and they're coming from the Godhead for people who have only eligibility for that. We have to talk about them in such a way as to contrast them with bhakti in order to awaken and nourish faith in bhakti. But they have their place. Therefore, Rupa Goswami was careful to describe the problem with Gyan and Karma as the desires for them. The Pisachi, witches, haunt the heart in the form of desires for Gyan and Karma. He was not against Gyan or Karma. They have their place, but the desires for them were the problem. So, at any rate, the extent to which Bhagavan, in a general sense, is sympathetic to the religious, it's a start to color your human life with the shade of religion and perform all the normal human activities of marriage, childbirth, conception, whatever, all the different stages of life that the samskars of typical household life with consideration of God and so forth, and indeed all the movements, the food we eat, the breath we take, and Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sada Pashyanti Suryo Chaksharatam Tad Vishnu Panyagoja Gudam Sasamanti Vishnu Paramam Param. He's always above us, his footprint. He can see with his feet, observing all of our movements, and so the religious life is to move in that way. So the extent, the point I'm making in the extended sense is that God honors the Brahmins. Here a Brahmin wanting to enter the kirtan of Mahaprabhu cursed Mahaprabhu when Mahaprabhu said, not by drinking milk only can you get into my kirtan. So he cursed Mahaprabhu not to have a successful, happy family life. And so the Bhagavatam says that on the curse of the Brahmin, he entered the forest, means he took sannyas. And Mayam Rigumdaita Ipsitam. He came after those deluded by Maya. So we pay our respect to that Brahman, right? And so so the Brahmane's curse in the Srimad Leela, Srimad Bhagavan was bound by it, so to speak. His affection for the Brahmins, his regard for them and for the religious principles, and because that's good for human society in general, it's a good start. So, therefore, the Srimad has there, of course, in the appearance of Bhagavan, there are many reasons. You can look at it from many different angles. This is one particular angle, that he took birth as Ram because of the curse of the Brahmin who said, whoever made that loud noise and caused this miscarriage or early birth, whatever it was, made me unconscious of myself. Maybe the stories I can't recall. Maybe the child was born unconscious or something. Whatever. Will have to be born and be unconscious of himself. So Nrsimha is very conscious of the fact that he is God. And he's certainly not a man, he's certainly not a beast. He's overtly God, and every god and goddess in the whole Hindu pantheon knew it, and stand back at his rage against Vaishnava Aparad, which was being perpetrated on Prahlad by his own father. And so he came before Prahlad and said, ask a benediction. Prahlad said, I don't want anything. He said, I'm Bhagwan. That's what I do. I give benedictions. People want things. They come to me. You're just a child. You don't know that. I'll tell you. Ask something. I'm God. And because I'm going to get you China. I don't want anything. I don't want anything. Ask something. So Sanatana Goswami says he tested Prahlad and tested Prahlad in the way that the Nitya Siddhas are not tested. The Sadhana Siddhas are tested and their glory is greater thereby. So he takes that side for a moment, champions the cause of the Nitya becoming a Sadhana Siddha, an eternally conditioned soul becoming Siddha through practice, through grace and so forth. Their love has been tested. And so Prahlad, of course, ultimately he asked, all right, give bhakti to my follower, benediction to my follower. Showing that he didn't want anything for himself. But if Bhagavan wanted to ask something for somebody else. Showing the compassion also of the Vaishnava that knows no bounds. Like an ocean, compassionate. Prahlad is a beautiful example of that. He's the basis of Shuddha Bhakti, where compassion turns to rasa. Rasa starts to make compassion look small. But we have to, I must say many times, we have to pass through compassion to arrive at rasa. It's hard to be compassionate in the world of rasa because everyone's perfect. And the object of your love, unless you're his mother, it's hard. There's karunya rasa, but it's different than worldly compassion. Anyway, so Prahlad showed that kind of compassion, and Sringadev showed I am God. There was never any question of that for anybody. All the gods and goddesses acknowledged it all at once. There's no confusion. Muyanti Atsuraya, the Bhagavatam opens with such a statement about its primary subject, Krishna, and says what? Muyanti Atsuraya, the gods are bewildered by him. They don't know exactly who he is. Indra rained in on him with an effort to kill his cows. Didn't recognize him. Brahma tried to steal his calves and friends, cow and friends. Couldn't quite recognize him. Brahma saw him at the dawn of creation with the Gyan Mudra, offering the benediction, speaking the seminal 4 verses of the Bhagavatam. Then he saw him and offered friendship to him, which was the request of Brahma. And then in the Brahma Vino and Leela, Krishna showed him what his friendship Leelas are like. And Brahma said, who is this guy? He's not there giving the blessing like my Gurudev, sitting very properly, but he's wearing overalls. And he's holding holy rice and yogurt in his left hand. And, imposter. Something like that. But with Nishinga Bhagavan, no question of that. He's God. And every god and every goddess knew it. And all the demons knew it, all the Brahmins knew it, and so forth. So to be born then, on the curse of the Brahmani, without consciousness of yourself, this is said to be Ram. The Ram is born without consciousness of himself. It means that in his Leela, he, in the context of Leela, he is not God in his own mind, and therefore we find Ram worshipping Shiva, for example, Rameshwar. Ram is the name for Shiva, Rameshwar. The Ishwar, the god of Ram, who worshipped Shiva. Of course, it said those who worship Shiva by invoking the name Rameshwar, that Shiva comes at the time of death and writes Ram on their forehead, sends it to Vaikuntha. That's his play, that he worships me. That's his Leela. He appears unconscious of himself, which he has to be, to some extent, in some measure, in order to have a human-like Leela. So Ram Leela is some similarity, like I said, to Krishna Leela in this way. It's moving in the direction of Krishna Leela, away from Adhoksaja, the overtly transcendental realm of Vaikuntha, where God obviously doesn't have a mother and a father. He's the source of everything. Now suddenly has a mother, has a father. Has people in his life who are obstacles as well. It is said that there are 2 people in Ram Leela who are most prominent and don't get the measure of glory that they deserve, because without them, the great story of the Ramayana would never have been told. And they are Kaikeya and Tripurari. Dasarath's other wife, who invoked asked her husband to give me the benediction that you promised me. Well, yes, any benediction I said I would give you. What would it be? To banish Ram from the kingdom due to bad association. Then the whole kingdom is put into sorrow. So there's no sorrow like this in Vaikuntha. They were plunged into sorrow. And you had the Kaikeyas, like the obstacle, right, to Ram's being coronated, which was about to happen the next day. And instead, she asked that he be banished banished, what is it, exiled to the forest for how many years or something?
14.
14 years. And then her son, Bart, would be the king, which was the last thing the Bart wanted for anybody in the kingdom. See the plight of the Father of God. Dasarath. Oh goodness. He had to let them go under the care of Vishwamrita in order to be religious. To be religious and to Gurukul, to learn arts and so on and so forth. And then coming back now, okay, becoming the king, and again, obstacle of his own religious sensibilities, which Ram, of course, wanted to honor, that he had made a promise. For what reason I forget, but to honor that, whatever it might be, it was something totally unexpected. Again, coming from bad association. She was advised like this. And so then the vanishing of Ram to the forest, along with whom went Sita and the faithful Lakshman. And it was there in the Aranyakanda of the Ramayana in the forest that Tripurari also came, and the two ladies, very famous in their own movie, that don't get the credit often that they're due. You don't know much about them afterwards and what they did. But what they did set the vanishing in motion, and then ultimately the killing of Ravana, which was auspicious for everyone concerned. Setting that in motion is the sister of Ravana. She's called Nakshi, and he's like beautiful, like fish eyes or something like that. And she was not particularly beautiful. She was thought to be a lady, kind of an Asuric type of Dhanava, who visited upon men in their dreams, which caused some irregularity in their hormonal life in dreams. Whatever happens to you, you can remember her. And this kind of person. So at any rate, she married a Dhanava, the family that was opposed to in some ways to her brother Ravana. He didn't like it at all. So one thing led to another, and Ravana killed his brother-in-law. So Tripurari was then sent by Ram, at her own suggestion, I believe, by Ravana, I should say, to the forest. No, I don't, maybe not. But she went to the forest of her own accord, with the and saw Ram and became attracted to him, basically. And Ram invoked, "What to speak of you?" He more or less said, "Even the sages have done to Karani couldn't have me as their wife, as their husband, excuse me," as we spoke the other night briefly. Because there's a way for doing that, and I'm not, in this form, I'm not the suitable deity to respond in that way. So I've taken a vow of only one wife, Patni Vrata. So he more or less said the same things, but what to speak of you? Even the sages who have been chanting the appropriate mantra for yugas will have to wait another yuga in their meditation. They got close. Through their mantra, they saw Ram. They had the darshan of Ram. They thought, this is who we've been meditating on. He said, not quite. Not quite. Close, but no cigar. So, in the next appearance, then it's possible. I will accept here as my wives, with my lovers. But in this life, I've taken a vow of only one wife. so to speak, of Tripurari. She came for different reasons, not out of meditation and mantra, Gopal mantra, spiritual pursuit, but she was attracted to Ram nonetheless for personal reasons, two personal reasons. One, about the attractiveness of Ram, as it turned out, and two, because she was a little wiser than you might think, and she knew that my brother's a demon. I mean, he killed my husband, who's a demon. I mean, he's a demon amongst demons, and he's no match for Ram. So she orchestrated really what happened to her, that in turn brought the rage of not only the rage and not really the rage of Ravana, but to the ears of Ravana, the plight of Tripurari included the descriptions of the beauty of Sita. And Ravana's lust then to have Sita for himself brought him to the forest. So anyway, she approached Ram. Ram said, no, but you might try Lakshman. He's available. And Lakshman knew that she was not who she appeared to be at the time. Maybe she had made her appearance more attractive. He said, no, and one thing led to another. He cut off her nose, maybe her ears too. I don't remember the details, but
she attacked Sita.
She attacked Sita, to protect Sita. But it's thought underneath that she orchestrated this to have so that there would be an opportunity for Ram to kill Ravana. And because of that, she took birth in Krishna Lila as Kubja. The hunchbacked lady of Mathura, who then was tweaked by Krishna, who stepped on her toes and put his fingers under her chin and straightened her out, and she became very beautiful. And she had a type of praying called Sadharana. There's Samanjasa, Samartha, Sadharana. Sadharani means ordinary. So Samartha Rati is the love of the gopis. It is such that who has this kind of love, their own desires have become Krishna's desires. Their only desire, they have desire, but it's the desire to please Krishna. So they have no sense of self in that sense. Queens in Dwarka, they have some sense of self, of who they are. We know, for example, that Rukmini could not just violate the Vedas and go meet with Krishna. She went as far as she could, sending a letter to a Brahmin suggesting he kidnap her in the marriage and so forth. But she felt somewhat bound by the Dharma of the Vedas, so she had not lost herself. So queens at Dwarka, there's some personal desire. It's spiritual, but not they completely overwhelms Krishna. And Kubja had ordinary love. She had desire for herself, but she was totally in love with Ram, nonetheless. It's peculiar. But he fulfilled her love. It's not apparent love. It's our ideal limits of form. So she had personal desire, and it was fully focused on Krishna. And so Kubja, Tripurari got such a benediction because she was instrumental in her own desire and orchestrating principle, and instrumental in orchestrating the defeat of Ravana and the glory of Sita. So Ram's in the forest and Ravana comes after him, and he thought, how to go about it, he went to Maricha, right? And Maricha had an encounter, I believe, with Ram and Lakshman when they were living with Vishwamitra, and he knew their prowess. And after that, he became like an ascetic with matted locks, living in the forest, and so he gave up his ways, but still he was under the rule of Ravana. So Ravana went to him and said, I want you, I just propose to you, go disguise yourself as a golden deer with golden horns, attract Sita. Ram will go after the deer, you for Sita, and I will kidnap Sita. And I think previous to that, Ram had tried to enlist Maricha also, defeating Ram when Ravana sent armies, I think, first to try to defeat him, right? So second time around, Maricha was not ready to go. He said, I'm not going. No thanks. He laughed. He said, you're nothing. You can't defeat Ram. But Ravana would not listen to that. And so he said, well, either you go or I'll kill you. He said, well, I'll go and I'll be killed by Rama. That'd be better for me than be killed by you. Better to be killed by a superior person. There's even a little piety in Maricha. And off he went, disguised as a magical golden deer that captivated the innocent heart of Sita, who wanted to have the deer as a pet in the forest. And Ram said, I haven't seen a deer like that. I'm not so sure that that's not some kind of illusion, magic or something of the sort, something maybe foul play. But she insisted, and he went, and he left her in the care of Lakshman. And of course, as the story goes, Ram caught up with Maricha and saw who he was and killed him. And as he was being shot at, he called out, Sita, Lakshman, help, in the voice of Ram. And so Sita heard it and said, oh, Lakshman, you must go and help Ram. Lakshman was completely convinced of the invincibility of Ram, then that he wouldn't need any help, and he thought there was some foul play. But Sita insisted in ways that made it very uncomfortable for Lakshman, who never had any thought of enjoying Sita any more than Balaram would want to enjoy with Radharani. But she intimated that maybe you have a personal desire for me, and that's why you're not going. This was heartbreaking to him. Krishnadas Kaviraj, of course, tells a beautiful personal story of his own, Chaitanya Charitamrita in the 5th chapter, where he's glorifying Nityananda with many beautiful verses. And in the end of that chapter, he segues into a personal history of his own and how Nityananda came into his life and blessed him, that we might know the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. And you know the story that Nityananda was not honored in the house of his brother while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was. And Krishnadas reasoned, this is like the logic, half-hen logic. Man had a hen chicken and thought, through this one hole in the mouth, I put money in the form of food, and through another hole in the bottom of the chicken, eggs come out. And with the eggs, I sell them and I make money. And so we don't do that, right? And we don't eat chickens because they have eggs in them. So I like that joke. And so the man cut off the head of the chicken, thinking, why one hole is used, it costs me money, the other one makes me money. This is called the half-hen logic. So Krishnadas invoked this in regard to his brother. We have half-hen logic. You worship Chaitanya, but you reject Nityananda Prabhu. And that's not worship of at all. I completely rejected him. he was prepared to live homeless. He left the house that night with no home. He was on the streets. And Nityananda came to him in a dream with his friends, all the Dwars Gopals dressed like Gopals, chanting Krishna, Krishna, dancing with flutes, decorated with peacock feathers and so forth. Yeah. And Nityananda Prabhu said to him, go to Vrindavan. All your desires will be fulfilled. Adhikali Chandra Karoli, Samsara Vasana Moha Kalita Chalaya, Naratan Thakur says Nityananda Prabhu, he's the way to Vrindavan. Samsara Vasana. He will dissolve your material desires, put you in an appropriate place for receiving all the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he went to Vrindavan. And in the context of telling that story, at the end, or just afterwards, at the end of the chapter, he makes a comment about Nityananda Prabhu in his previous life as Lakshman, appearing in Krishna Lila as the older brother, and again in Gaur Lila as the older brother, as Vishvarup, and as who was the expansion of himself, and as himself, the elder brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says that in the Ram Lila, so it's this chronology of sorts, if you will, that he was the younger brother, and he took a vow at this time in the forest. Is where it happened with the Ram Lekha. You know the Ram Lekha? The line, the writing, Lekha means writing, the line of Ram, of Lakshman Lekha. The line, he drew a line, sometimes it's described as a circle. I don't think it's in the original Valmiki Ramayana, but it appears in other Ramayanas. And it's a famous thing. Don't cross the Lakshman Lekha. You don't do that. So you drew a circle, or a line, or a circle around, or a line. Did anybody cross that line other than Ram or Lakshman would be consumed by flames, and Sita would stay protectively behind it. So Lakshman did that. Let's say he drew a circle around her and found the circle, and then told her, don't move out of the circle. And he went at her request to see if Ram was indeed in need of help. And at this time, Ravan, who had been told, as I was saying, by Shrupanaka to become Kubja of the beauty of Sita, and Ram, and to have her for himself. So he came disguised as a mendicant, as when Lakshman left, and he asked Sita for some, and she was a pious householder of Leela, and of noble birth and so forth. She knew the etiquette and how to receive a sage and so forth, so she wanted to offer him something from their forest, edibles and whatnot, but she wouldn't cross the line, and so he felt that you're creating some boundary between us, and sages know no boundaries, and there should not be a boundary between householders and sages. That your house should Mikasa Sukasa. My house is your house, should be the standard. And the homeless sadhus, they should be taken care of and welcomed like children, and for the households who feed them, house them, and so forth. So you draw the line, and you won't let me cross that. So you keep your food. So she was not about to then offend the sage as she saw it, stepped across the line, and then he shoved his form and said, "Why don't you come with me? Be my wife." And she said, "There are stars, and the sky can fall, and I'll never be your wife. I'm dedicated to Ram." And so he kidnapped her, or so it appears, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met in his tour of South India. When he leaves for South India, he chants Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam, Ram Raghava, Ram Raghava, Rakshamam. This is a place in Gaur-Lila, heading south, where there were many devotees of Ram, where he chants the name of Ramchandra. Of course, Ramchandra is also, in his Leela, we're much reminded of that in the early Navadvip pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, the original biographer, if you will, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Hanuman himself. On his forehead, Murari Gupta, that is, Mahaprabhu wrote the several pieces. Ram. The relationship between Murari and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is one of the most touching things you find in Chaitanya Leela in their school days. And Murari was older, but they were in school together. And Mahaprabhu, in those times before he manifested himself in his Pauganda Leela as a Vaishnava, he would play with knowledge like it was like we used to have this stuff when the kids called Play-Doh. You can make anything out of it.
Silly putty. Silly putty.
Silly putty. And you make this and that, turn into this. And so he made like that with knowledge. And he would make arguments and defeat everyone, and then defeat his own arguments, and then go back to his original argument. And his command of knowledge was extraordinary. And so, along with the epithet Nitai, it was given to him by Sita Thakurani, the Pandit title came Nimaya Pandit. And this was like, from the scholarly point of view, the academic point of view, a great treasure of Navadvip. It was a place of learning. It had, it was like Navadvip and Matila, like New York and LA, which is better or something. It hasn't competition sometimes. So with Nimai Pandit, they were, and Sarvabhauma, they were the winners. But Nimai Pandit, the young boy, at any rate, the beautiful rapport between them, and especially in the Pauganda Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I said before, he manifests as a Vaishnava. And the story of his one of his brief debates with Murari, in which he defeated Murari and touched him, and Murari was electrified. And so he's not a human being. The boy's not human. Who is he? And it's a glimpse of his opulence, and then their friendliness is very, very endearing. And ultimately, of course, Mahaprabhu manifested himself as a Vaishnava. And in the context of that, also showed himself to be Bhagavan, and brought various devotees before him in Srivas Thakur's house and said, "See, I'm Krishna, you are Sudama, Suklamar. You begged rice for me, or you brought rice to me as an offering. In Dwarka, do you remember? Now you're here. And Sridham, and you were Mother Mangal, Sridhar, and so forth. And Murari, you are with me in all my leelas. You are Hanuman. You wrote Ram on his forehead." And from Murari's notes, this is the first biographical notes we have, attempted to document the story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hanuman ki Jai, Murari Gupta ki Jai. So, super important paradigmatic person, the epitome of Dasya Rasa, which of course is how we relate to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although he's Krishna, he's in the form of Charya, teaching, the Guru of the Sampradaya. So we relate to him in Dasya Bhav. And Hanuman personifies that Dasya Bhav. And so at any rate, also, as I say, we went to South India, he invoked Ram Raghava, and he met some Ram Bhaktas, and relative to the discussion of Ravana kidnapping Sita, he met a Brahmin in South India who invited him for lunch. And when he came for lunch, there was no lunch. And Mahaprabhu waited and waited. And he said, well, are you going to cook or what? He said, how can I cook? Sita's been kidnapped by Ravana. Mahaprabhu was filled up to the neck with that, satisfied to hear such, that he had, in his trance, that's where he, how can I cook? I was going to collect some fruits and roots in the forest to cook for Ram and then offer to you, but now Sita's been kidnapped by Ravana and there's no lunch today. Emergency. Mahaprabhu's thinking this is a real devotee. He got Staiva for Ram. And so Mahaprabhu brought him down from his trance and tried to pacify him with some tattva. He said, actually, Sita can never be stolen by Ravana. And philosophized with him and so forth. And he explained that only a Mayic form of Sita could have been kidnapped by Ravana, because from the point of view of tattva, this Swarup Shakti can never be contaminated by the Maya Shakti. Indeed, it has the power to overwhelm Krishna, or to speak of dispel the influence of the Maya Shakti. This is Bhakti's power. So Mahaprabhu explained it, and he then came to external consciousness enough to cook lunch for Mahaprabhu. And then Mahaprabhu, he left a very strong impression upon him. So when he traveled further south, he made an effort to find the Kula Purana, an edition of it, in which this is told that only this tattva point is given, that only a Mayic form of Sita manifests. And again, this is Leela, so she did like this, and the real form of Sita became unmanifest. A facsimile was created, and Radha took this. So then he took that page from the Kula Purana and he copied the page. And he returned, went to that Brahman's house and showed her, see what I told you, it's supported by the Shastra. He said a good standard how to come to the conclusions, how to support your statements with the sacred text. Here it is, so you don't have to worry. Now you can go back and wheel and worry. and the play that Sita has been kidnapped by Ravana, and so, of course, then the story goes on, and Jatayu shows the way. The wounded vulture who tried to stop Ravana from kidnapping Sita, but is unsuccessful and wounded, lives long enough to say, it went that way. What story, huh? And Rama, and of course, enlisted Hanuman. Hanuman comes into the picture, and a host of forest monkeys to assist in the overthrowing of Ravana, the saving of Sita, and the return to the kingdom and the coronation and the Ram Raja, and then after Note or two of Ram Lila. Such a tale of human-like tragedies and victories, and very absorbing and consuming. And another Leela, as I began, human-like Leela of Bhagavan, that can touch very much parts of your human emotional reality in such a way as to bond with that divine figure. And so there's a speciality to Ram Leela, and that blessing of the curse of the Brahmani that made him extremely unconscious of himself, and had to appear in the role of Ram, human-like, some step away upwards from Vaikuntha and a step down from Goloka. This is Ayodhya. So it's very important to us. And there are many great Ram Bhaktas, a number of them that Mahaprabhu encountered in his divine Leela. Ram Bhakti is not the ideal of Gaudiya Vaishnavism per se, but the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are well aware of it. I mean, the Gopis, of course, invoked it and criticized Krishna for his part in, along with Lakshman, defacing and so the implication there when they do this, that they were familiar with all these different leaders, and although we make the point repeatedly for good reason, Krishna is the source of all avatars. It's not in any way to demean any other avatar, make less of them, but to say that the more of Krishna, that all of these things that we find in Ram Lila, for example, are in Krishna. So they're good things. It's part of what makes Krishna extraordinary, that all of Ram is in him. It's not that he's more than Ram. We don't care about Ram. But this kind of mundane thinking should not enter into our so-called glorification of Krishna that causes some type of inappropriate type of sectarianism. We criticize others in the mode of passion and feel better about ourselves for constructive criticism. That's another thing. That's something. And transcendental criticism, like the Gopis criticizing Krishna in the form of Ram, for having a part along with Lakshman in the face of and cheating Bali in the form of Vamana and so on. So they criticize him and their separation from him. So the point is that Bhagavatam, one of the sheltered topics, the shelter giving topic is Krishna, and the shelter topic is one of them. The 9 is included as the avatar tattva. So a number of avatars are mentioned, and some of their stories are played out. And again, we say that Krishna is more complete manifestation of divinity than Ram. It means, again, all that Ram is in him, so that there's a lot to Ram like. And we're fortunate to be able to remember the Ram Leela. I actually, now that I think about it, just after the Ram Navami this time in 1975 in Vrindavan, and I remember the Ram Navami celebrations at that time. This is just after the temple, Krishna Balaram opened. So, special day for us. Shri Ram Hanuman Lakshman Ki Jai. Sri Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. You see, of course, he appeared sometimes as Ram, Krishna, and himself, 6 arms Sadbhuj at times. I should end with this afternote here, epilogue. What do you call it? When they come back on stage. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, encore.
Encore. Thank you very much. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embodies the Maryada of Ram, the etiquette of Ram, the morality of Ram. Externally, and his internal preoccupation is the apparent immorality of Krishna and his dalliance with the gopis and Parakiya and so forth, which then tells us that it tells us that the Leela of Radha and Krishna and Gopikas is super moral. It's super moral because you cannot be meditating on mundane eroticism and be a perfect sannyasi like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, perfectly religious and beyond. I mean, he was in the 4th order. So, it's therefore, in one sense, through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Maryada, that the Krishna Lila has great scope for gaining credibility and acceptance and a proper understanding of what it is. And in our Bhaktivinoda Parivar, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a testament to that, who confesses to being growing up with a bias towards the Bhagavatam and its Krishna Lila until he learned about it through Chaitanya Charitamrita, through the person of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then what happened? He became a great Kedarnath Bhakti Vinod and started the party bar of great renown in the world today that has taken Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching all over the world. Srimad Mahaprabhu ki jai, Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Sri Ram Navami ki jai, Gaur Radha Madhava ki jai, Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanand ki jai. Bunch of people do this job.